She caught the bouquet at my wedding. I have thought about that moment every single day for 2 years. The way she laughed when it landed in her hands, the way she held it up like a trophy, the way my husband Marcus stood at the front of that reception hall and clapped and smiled and looked at her with an expression I told myself was happiness for his new wife's best friend. It was not happiness. I know what it was now. I just did not know it then. My name is Dana. I'm 34 years old. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment that used to feel too big and now feels exactly right. I have a cat named Biscuit who sits on my kitchen windowsill every morning while I drink coffee, and I have a job I am good at and a life I am rebuilding from the ground up with my own 2 hands. And I have a story that I spent a long time being too ashamed to tell, because somewhere in the back of my mind, I believe that what happened to me was a reflection of something I lacked, something I missed, something a smarter woman would have seen. I do not believe that anymore. What happened to me was not about what I missed. It was about what 2 people I loved completely decided to take from me while standing close enough to look me in the eye every single day. This is the story of my best friend Cara, my husband Marcus, and the 2 years they spent planning a future together while I was busy planning a life with both of them in it. Cara and I met in college. First week of freshman year, same dormitory floor, 2 rooms apart. She knocked on my door at 11 o'clock at night because she had locked herself out and her roommate was not answering, and she needed somewhere to sit while she waited for campus security. I let her in. We talked until 2 in the morning. By the time campus security showed up, we were already the kind of friends that take years to explain to other people. That is how it felt. Immediate. Certain. The kind of friendship that makes you believe some connections are just written somewhere before you arrive. She was maid of honor at my wedding. I had not considered anyone else for a single second. She stood beside me at the altar in a dusty rose dress she had picked herself, and she held my bouquet while Marcus put the ring on my finger, and she cried. I saw the tears. I reached over and squeezed her hand, and she squeezed back, and I thought, this is what it means to have someone. This is what it means to be known. I did not know what the tears were for. I met Marcus 3 years before the wedding, a mutual friend's birthday dinner. He was at the end of the table, a little quieter than everyone else, the kind of quiet that makes you want to know what is underneath it. We talked for 4 hours that night. He walked me to my car. He texted before I got home. He was attentive and warm, and he remembered things, small things, the kind of things that make a person feel seen in a world that mostly looks past you. He remembered that I took my coffee with oat milk after I mentioned it once in passing. He remembered the name of my childhood dog. He showed up. He was good at showing up. I understand now that showing up was a skill he applied selectively. Cara loved Marcus immediately, or she said she did. She said he was exactly what I deserved. She said she had been waiting for me to find someone like him. She was there for the first anniversary dinner, the apartment hunting, the engagement. She was the first person I called when he proposed. She cried then, too. I was starting to think she just cried easily. I thought it was one of the things I loved about her. All that feeling, right at the surface, ready to come out. I did not understand what she was crying about. The wedding planning started 8 months before the date. Cara was in every part of it. Venue visits, cake tastings, invitation decisions, seating charts. She had opinions about the flowers and the font on the programs, and the exact shade of white in the tablecloths. She was present in the way only a best friend can be present. The kind of involvement that feels like love because it looks like love, because for a long time I believed it was love. She and Marcus got along the way you want your husband and your best friend to get along. Easy, natural, no awkwardness. They texted each other about me sometimes, planning surprises, coordinating gifts. I knew about the texts. I saw them on his phone once when he asked me to check a message, and I saw her name and the preview, and it was something about whether I had mentioned wanting a specific book. And I smiled because I had 2 people in my life who cared enough to coordinate. I smile differently when I think about that now. The wedding was in October. Outdoor ceremony, string lights, the smell of pine from the trees at the edge of the property. 73 people. My mother in the front row crying into a handkerchief. Marcus at the end of the aisle looking at me in a way that I held on to for 2 years as proof that what we had was real. Cara caught the bouquet. She laughed. He clapped. I thought it was joy. The first year of marriage was good, the way first years are supposed to be good. New rhythms, small adjustments, learning which silences meant nothing and which ones meant something. We had disagreements the way everyone does, and we worked through them the way people do when they believe they are building something worth protecting. Cara was around often. She and I had a standing Thursday dinner. Sometimes Marcus joined us. Sometimes it was just the two of us at the Thai place on Clement Street she had introduced me to 4 years ago. I looked forward to those dinners the way you look forward to something that feels permanent, like it will always be there, like some things are just fixtures. I did not notice when the Thursdays started getting shorter, when she started checking her phone more, when her attention had a slight lag to it, like a video feed that is half a second behind. I noticed other things, though, slowly, the way you notice a smell before you identify its source. Marcus started working late more often, not dramatically, 1 extra night a week, then 2. He was in a new role at work, more responsibility, more hours. He explained it clearly and it made sense, and I believed it because it was the kind of thing that makes sense when you are not looking for a reason not to believe it. He was less present at home in the way that is hard to name. He was there, but not quite there. Physically in the room, but his attention somewhere else, pointed at something I could not see. I asked him once if everything was all right. He said yes, just tired, and he kissed me on the forehead, and I accepted it because I trusted him and because I did not yet have a reason not to. Cara started canceling Thursdays. First once, then twice in a row, then with less explanation than she used to give. Work was busy. She was exhausted. She had a thing she could not get out of. I missed her, but I did not push. I knew what busy felt like. I figured we would find our rhythm again. I figured a lot of things that turned out not to be true. The moment I found out was not dramatic. I want to tell you there was a confrontation, a revelation, a scene. There was not. It was quiet and small, and it arrived sideways the way the worst things usually do. I came home early from work on a Wednesday afternoon. My last meeting had been canceled and I was tired, and I wanted to change into comfortable clothes and sit on my own couch. I did not text Marcus because I did not think I needed to. I did not think about what I was walking into because I had not yet learned that my own home was a place I needed to think carefully about walking into. Marcus was not home, but his laptop was open on the kitchen counter. I was not looking for anything. I want to say that clearly because it matters. I was not searching. I was not suspicious in the way that leads to looking. I walked past the counter and glanced at the screen the way you glance at something that is just there, and I saw her name. Not a text, not a notification, an email thread. Long. The kind that goes back months. Subject line that meant nothing, something mundane, something that would never catch anyone's attention if they were scanning quickly. I stood at that counter for a long time before I started reading. I read for longer than I want to admit. By the time I stopped reading, I knew things I could not unknow. I knew they had been together for 2 years. I knew it had started 4 months before our wedding. I knew Cara had been at our engagement party and our rehearsal dinner, and standing at my altar in a dusty rose dress, already knowing what she knew. I knew Marcus had texted her from our honeymoon. I knew they had a language between them, a shorthand, the kind that takes time to build, the kind that means you have been building something for a while. I knew that every Thursday dinner I had looked forward to, every time I had sat across from her at that Thai restaurant and told her things about my marriage, my fears, my hopes, she had been taking that information and carrying it back to my husband. I put the laptop back exactly as I found it. I went to the bedroom and I sat on the edge of the bed and I looked at the wall for a very long time. I did not cry. Not then. I was too far past the place where crying made sense. I was somewhere beyond that, in a quiet room where everything had already happened, and the only question left was what I was going to do about it. I called my sister, not Cara, never Cara again. My sister listened and did not interrupt, and when I finished, she said, "Tell me where you are and I will come." She drove 40 minutes that evening and sat with me in my kitchen while Marcus was still not home, and we talked until I knew what I needed to do. When Marcus came home, I was at the kitchen table. The laptop was where he had left it. I was very calm. I had arranged myself around the calm the way you arrange yourself when you know that what is about to happen requires you to be still. He saw my face before I said a word, and he knew. I watched the knowing arrive. I watched him calculate for a half second whether there was any version of this he could navigate out of. There was not. I showed him the emails. Not because I needed his confirmation. I had read them. I knew. I showed them to him because I wanted him to understand that I was not asking a question. I was closing a door. He cried. He talked. He used the words complicated and confusing and did not mean to let it go this far, and I love you, and I'm sorry. He reached for my hand. I moved it. I let him talk until he ran out of words. Then I told him I wanted him out of the apartment by the following evening. I told him calmly and clearly and without raising my voice, because I was not going to give him the satisfaction of seeing me fall apart in front of him. He asked if we could try counseling. I said no. He asked if I needed time to think. I said I had already thought. He asked what I was going to do, and I told him I was going to be fine and that he needed to start figuring out the same for himself. He left the next evening with 2 bags. I changed the locks 2 hours after the door closed. I did not call Cara. I had nothing to say to Cara that could fit inside a phone call. I typed a message once and deleted it. I typed another one and deleted that too. In the end, I sent 4 words. I know about everything. Then I blocked her number, her email, every version of her I had access to, and I sat down on my kitchen floor and I let myself cry for the first time since I had found those emails. I cried for a long time. Not just for Marcus, not just for Cara, for the version of my life I had believed in, for the engagement party and the Thursday dinners and the moment at the altar when I thought her tears were about how much she loved me. For every conversation I had at that Thai restaurant when I was handing her pieces of myself and she was collecting them. I cried until I was empty. Then I got up and washed my face. My mother came the following weekend. She did not say I told you so because she had never told me so. She had loved Cara too. She sat in my kitchen and held my hands and did not try to fix it. She just sat with me in it. That was enough. The divorce was straightforward because I made it straightforward. I did not want to negotiate. I did not want a long process. I wanted it clean, and I got it clean. 6 months after I found those emails, I was no longer married, and the apartment was entirely mine, and the cat was sitting on the windowsill like nothing had changed. Biscuit adjusts to everything. I have decided to be more like Biscuit. I heard through a mutual friend 8 months after the divorce that Marcus and Cara were together officially now, living together in a neighborhood 20 minutes from the Thai place on Clement Street. I heard it, and I sat with it for a moment, and then I noticed that what I felt was not the devastation I had expected. It was something smaller, quieter, almost like relief. Because here is what I understand now that I did not understand when I was planning a wedding with my best friend by my side. Some people show you who they are slowly, not in one moment, not in one betrayal, in the accumulation of 100 small choices they made when they thought you were not paying attention. The texts that were just texts, the late nights that were just late nights, the tears at a wedding that were just tears. Cara made 100 small choices over 2 years. So did Marcus. Every single day they woke up and chose to keep the lie alive, and chose to let me go on building a life on top of it, and chose their own comfort over my right to know what was real. That is not complicated. That is not confusing. That is not something that happened by accident or grew in a direction nobody expected. That is a decision, made over and over, by two people I trusted completely. I am not angry anymore. Or I am angry sometimes, but it moves through me now the way weather moves. It comes and then it goes, and the sky is still there afterward. What I kept from this is something I did not expect to keep. I kept myself, not the version of myself that was shaped around being someone's wife and someone's best friend. The version that existed before I learned to make myself smaller, to fit into spaces other people defined. The version that drinks coffee by the window with a cat and takes long walks on Saturday mornings and has learned to trust the quiet instead of filling it with someone else's noise. I planned a wedding with my best friend by my side. I did not know she was already planning something else. But what she and Marcus took from me, they could only take once. The life I am building now, this one, the one with the mint walls and the bedroom I chose myself, and the windowsill cat, and the Thursday evenings I spend exactly how I want to spend them. Nobody helped me build this. Nobody can take it. I hung the string lights in my own apartment last December, by myself. No ceremony, no audience, no one standing beside me telling me it looked beautiful. I plugged them in and stood back and looked at what I had made. It looked beautiful. I did not need anyone to tell me.